Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Corporate Finance Online Classes. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Vanjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. Okay, so dear students, okay, in this class we are going to make a beginning to measurement and okay, concept and measurement of cost of capital. Okay, so from Unit 3, okay, we are going to make a beginning. So this is also a lengthier chapter. Okay, about 10 hours are required for this. And before I begin with this chapter from Unit 3, okay, let me share you. It's not exactly news. Okay, from today's Times of India. Students, can you see this news article?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, see why reading newspapers or business magazines, okay, is important for MBA students. How it expands your knowledge horizon, okay, and improves your decision making skills. Okay, to make a decision, you need to have better understanding and idea about the micro and macro environment, what is happening. So this is not exactly news. Okay, it's like an interview of Mr. Soumyakanti Ghosh. He is the Group Chief Economic Advisor to State Bank of India. So he has very beautifully and very simple way explained what is inflation, how it is calculated. Okay, then why the present inflation. You should know, being MBA students, that the present okay rate of inflation is quite high and not good for the Indian economy. Okay, and what RBI and Government of India should do. Okay, so just I'll read a couple of points. Inflation. 1 minute. Okay. So inflation measures the rate of increase in the level of absolute prices. Okay, then there are two measures of inflation in India: wholesale price index and consumer price index. Okay, so CPI, Consumer Price Index, is tracked by Reserve Bank of India, and it measures the changes over time in the general level of retail prices of selected goods and services that households purchase for consumption. The CPI measures price changes by comparing. How CPI is calculated? Consumer Price Index, which indicates the inflation rate. CPI measures price changes by comparing through time the cost of a fixed basket of commodities, current basis 2012 year, which is considered as equivalent to 100. So from there, how the prices have increased. At present, data for CPI measurement are collected from representative and selected 1,114 urban markets and 1,181 villages covering all states and union territories through personal visits by the field staff. Okay, please remember, on a weekly basis or a weekly roster. So how it is calculated. Okay, then next question to him is what is worrying about a recent CPI inflation, Consumer Price Index, okay, inflation. CPI inflation has increased to 6.3%. It is quite high. Remember, it is quite high. Okay, on a yearly basis in May 21 as compared to 4.23% in April 21. So just in 1 month, it has jumped to 6.3. Okay, so I hope students you understand the prices of vegetables, fruits. Okay, if you don't purchase, ask your parents by what extent they have increased. LPG price, then petrol price, at least you might be aware. Okay, almost close to 100 rupees. In some districts, it has crossed 100 rupees already. Okay, so for policy makers, what is also important is the core CPI inflation, as it excludes the more volatile component of food and fuel prices. Okay, so that is calculated separately. So that the core CPI, okay, that is food and fuel, has increased to almost a 7-year high of 6.55%. Food and fuel has increased to 6.55%, which is the highest in last 7 years. Okay. So what's driving this sharp rise? You should know why inflation is so high in our country today. One of the factors leading to higher inflation is the rising food prices. Okay, protein items, cereals, and even vegetables have all witnessed increase in prices. Localized lockdowns by various states have possibly disrupted supply chains, the availability. Okay. However, supply side disruptions are not the only factor. The pandemic has resulted in significant increase in health expenses, consumption of household non-durable goods important for domestic hygiene and even intoxicants. As expected, the relentless surge in fuel prices had translated into higher prices for transportation. See, when we consumers pay for a packaged goods or services, vegetable, fruits, that price includes even the transportation costs. Remember, due to the increase in fuel prices, the transportation cost is rising. So that added increase in transportation cost is added to our products, which we pay. Remember, always the customer bears the increase in anything and everything. And fuel, electricity, and even firewood chips. Even electricity prices has been increased. Okay, I hope you know. Okay, some paise by per unit, 30 paise, or I don't remember exactly. Okay, but it was in the newspaper. Okay, then global increase in raw material prices of cotton has also pushed up prices for clothing. Labor shortages are also resulting in steep increase in prices of labor for household services. See, this way, dear students, we should be able to explain. Okay, first thing is the reading and understanding. Second thing is you should be able to explain what is inflation, what are the reasons for the sharp rise in prices today. All these reasons, the way I mentioned. Okay, then will a good monsoon lead to decline in food inflation? They have mentioned. Okay, and finally, okay, he has been asked what should RBI and government do? Okay, so I'll just complete this part. Maintaining price stability is the foremost objective of the Monetary Policy Committee of Reserve Bank of India. So the prices should not escalate further. Okay, that is the first priority for RBI. However, during the pandemic, growth has taken center stage and RBI has rightly cut interest rates. With the rise in inflation amid second wave, the balancing acumen of MPC will now be sorely tested. Factors like rising commodity prices, supply chain disruptions are expected to raise overall domestic inflation. So it is expected to further increase the inflation. Traditionally, raising interest rates can lead to decline in prices by making credit more expensive, and this is the tool that RBI employs. So generally during a high inflation period, Reserve Bank of India increases the credit interest on credit. So when the credit becomes expensive, it demotivates customers to purchase goods on EMI basis. So that's how the prices come down. However, just raising interest rates to combat inflation may kill any incipient signs of recovery. So, but now the tricky situation is if the RBI increases interest rates and makes the consumer loans expensive, then it will hit the demand also. Okay, if the Indian economy has to recover, there should be enough demand. So this is a very tricky situation. So RBI may prefer to wait and watch mode at least for now. So the suggested strategy for RBI is to wait and watch and tries to maintain the level of prices. They should not further increase. Okay, so on the other hand, repairing the supply chain remains the top priority, and on this, RBI has a little control. See, on the supply chain availability, making the products available, Reserve Bank of India doesn't have any control. It is the job of Government of India. Okay, Government of India needs to remove supply side bottlenecks. For example, he's giving one example. Government of India can immediately offload 10 to 20% of its pulses stock with NAFED in the open market. So central government keeps certain stock of food grains, or pulses with itself. So what he suggests, Government of India can release 10 to 20% of the pulses or food grains what have been stored. So the present problem is a lack of short of supply. Food products are short in supply. So if the government releases the 10 to 20% of the pulses into the market, the supply will increase and the prices will come down. Okay. So stocks are currently at 14.6 lakh metric ton. Okay. So he's suggesting 10 to 20% of it to release in the market. This may immediately cool down pulses prices. Measures like this across commodity classes are the best responses right now for Government of India. Okay. So if you can read, understand, and if you are able to explain this to other person, maybe on the stage to the audience or during your interview, during group discussion, believe me, you will have plenty of opportunities, in career. And this is what is expected from an MBA student. We should, know this, and we should be able to explain these things. Okay. Yeah. So any queries related to this, small queries? Any small queries? Yeah, this is every day. If you just catch hold of one source of information, whatever you like, but it should be in English. Remember, you cannot read in Kannada, and it will be difficult for you to explain in English once you read in Kannada. Okay. Yeah. So any queries regarding the inflation? What is inflation? How it is calculated? What are the reasons for the rising prices in India? What are the measures suggested for RBI and Government of India? Is that okay, students? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So just now we also saw a funny video. It's called a stand-up comedy. Okay, North Karnataka stand-up comedy. Okay. So I hope it may be like that on your end. My voice may not be able to reach you fluently. Okay, so there may be break. Okay, during the communication. Okay, so but whatever, the solution to that is every class I'm recording and uploading on YouTube, and the link is shared in Google Classroom. So when you watch the video from Google Classroom, we'll have continuous communication, okay, uninterrupted communication, fluent and loud. But anyway, okay, so live classes are also mandatory because they form part of our duty. Okay, so now let me go ahead with, I'm sorry, yeah, here. Okay, so students, can you see these PowerPoint slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we are now into unit 3. Okay, so it's continuation of long-term investment decision, dear students. So we learned about the 3 functions of a financial management or corporate finance, or 3 functions of a finance manager: taking or making investment decisions. So especially it is implied that making long-term investment decisions, financing decisions, and dividend policy decisions. So investment decisions means, okay, it is about capital projects or long-term investment decisions. Okay, a finance manager must evaluate the long-term investment proposals and select such a investment proposal which maximizes shareholders' wealth. This is what exactly we learned in Unit 2. So what we did there, how the decision was made on the basis of evaluating the long-term investment proposals. So if the net present value is positive, accept the project as it can maximize shareholders' wealth. If the net present value of the long-term investment project proposal is negative, reject the project. Do not invest because it will not generate any profit. Hence, it cannot maximize shareholders' wealth. Now, in continuation with long-term investment decision, there is one more concept, okay, which is called as the cost of capital. Okay, which is called as cost of capital. Okay, now I'll give you a simple analogy or example. Say you borrow, okay, loan. Okay, I will keep it for a small amount so that you can understand. Okay, if a lakhs, crores, if I take, okay, then it will be difficult to calculate and understand. So you take a loan for of 100 rupees. You take a loan of 100 rupees and assume the rate of interest is 10%. Okay, capital is also raised from bank loan or loans from financial institutions. Okay, so you take a 100 rupee loan, okay, to start a business. Okay, then the bank charges, let us say, 10% interest on loans. Okay, 10% interest on loans. So I have to repay 100 rupee principal amount plus 10% of 100 rupees. How much? 10% of 100 rupees?
10.
10 rupees is the interest on loan taken. So 100 rupee principal amount plus 10% interest on loan, you have to repay 110 rupees. Okay, as per the agreement or term of the loan. So now you have borrowed 100 rupees at the rate of 10% interest and you want to invest it in a business. And in business, when funds are invested, before investing, the company wants to know what is the rate of return on this business. If I invest 100 rupees in this business, what will be my rate of return? Okay, what will be my rate of return? Now, let us say if I invest in the business and this business will earn me a rate of return of 8%, let us say. Okay, if I invest in this business, this business will earn me a rate of return of 8%. So what does that mean? How much this businessman will earn in total, including his investment amount? How much amount he will receive? If
108.
Excellent, Anushri. Okay, if 8% is the rate of return, on the business investment, on the investment made for 100 rupees, he will earn 108 rupees. But how much he has to repay bank?
10 rupees. Interest of 10 rupees.
Principal
110.
plus interest. Yeah, 100 plus 10, 110 rupee he has to repay. But if he decides to invest in the business, he will earn only 108 rupees. But whereas he has to repay 110 rupees to the bank. Is there profit in this business investment decision?
No, sir.
There is a loss of 2 rupees, correct?
Yes,
so
sir.
how we came to know? Just now we evaluated an investment proposal using cost of capital as a criteria to accept or reject the investment proposal. I'll explain how. The 10% interest on loan charged by a bank is nothing but cost of capital. Okay, so 10% interest on loan is nothing but cost of capital. So we used this 10% interest on loan as a decision making criterion to accept or reject a business investment proposal, which I gave. 100 rupee a person wants to invest, and the rate of return on that investment will be 8%. Means he will total earn 108 rupees. So this way, cost of capital becomes a decision criterion. It is used as a decision criteria to evaluate long-term investment project proposals. Okay, so I hope the background is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now capital is not raised only from banks and financial institutions in the form of a debt or in the form of a loan. Capital is also raised in from different sources, like issue of equity shares. Okay, then issue of preference shares, issue of debentures and bonds. Okay, and a company can also use, if it is an existing company and if they have some reserves and surpluses, they can also consider this as one of the sources of financing or capital. So each source of these capital, like loan from bank or loan from financial institution, we call it debt. It has a cost. Here the cost is nothing but interest on loan. Okay, then equity capital. If the company issues equity shares and raises capital, okay, there is also a cost involved. Okay, that is, for example, okay, so these equity shareholders are required to be given dividend, remember. So that is the cost of capital. Now we are considering in a general manner. Okay, we'll specifically calculate the cost of each source of capital in this chapter. Then preference shares. Okay, company has raised capital through preference shares. So company has to pay preference dividend to them. So there is a cost involved. Okay, so this way there is a cost involved. Okay, when a company raises capital from any source. So that is what we are going to measure. So once we find out the cost of capital of each source or the overall cost of capital, capital is raised usually from different sources, debt capital, equity capital, reserve and surplus, and so on. Okay, so the overall cost of capital is referred to as cost of capital. And okay, this cost of capital is in percentage. It can be used as a decision criterion to select or reject the long-term investment decision. What is the accept reject rule? if the rate of return on the investment is greater than the cost of capital, accept the project, invest in the project, because it will earn you more than how much it will fetch you. If the rate of return on the proposed investment is less than the cost of capital, reject the project, as you will not earn any profit on the investment decision. So now I brought you to a common platform. Okay, it's like a curtain raiser before I start the chapter. So was it helpful for you, students? Yes, anyone can
sir.
reply. Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with this background, with this understanding, let's go ahead with, okay, first topic in the chapter, importance of the concept of a cost of capital. Okay, so the cost of capital as an operational criterion is related to the firm's objective of wealth maximization. How? Okay, we'll understand the accept reject rule. I just explained to you if you can recall. Accept the project only, accept only such investment opportunities that promises a rate of return higher than the cost of capital, which I explained just now. It implies that the proposal yields returns higher than the minimum required rate by the investors. The prices of shares will increase and thus shareholders' wealth. Okay, I hope you understand now. That's why I explained it to you with an example first. Thus, the cost of capital provides a rational mechanism for making optimum investment decisions. So in my example, since the rate of return was 8%, which was less than the cost of capital 10%, hence we decided to reject the investment project. Means company should not invest in the project in my example. Okay, now let's understand, okay, in financial terms, what is the meaning of cost of capital? In operational term, cost of capital refers to the discount rate that is used to determine the present value of estimated future cash flows and eventually deciding whether the project is worth undertaking or not. So, okay, if you can recall, dear students, in chapter number 2, time value of money, as well as in the previous unit, chapter long-term investment projects or capital budgeting evaluation techniques chapter, always in every problem there was some thing was given like discount rate at 10%, discount rate 12%. If you can recall, cost of capital 10%. Okay, this is it. Okay, this is the cost of capital, which we then considered. So I told you we'll come to that factor or point in this chapter. So here, so all those percentages given 10%, we referred, no, we used to refer time value tables. Table A3 10% column, table A4 12% column. If you can recall, that is nothing but cost of capital. Okay, so in operational term, cost of capital refers to the discount rate that is used in determining the present value of the estimated future cash flows and eventually deciding whether the project is worth undertaking or not, means whether it is worth investing or not. So in this sense, it is defined as the minimum rate of return. Okay, so this cost of capital is defined as the minimum rate of return that a firm must earn on its investments to maintain its market value and attract funds. So in my example, so this businessman borrows or takes a loan of 100 rupees at the rate of 10% interest. Okay, the interest on loan is 10%. Okay, so the cost of capital is 10%. So he should invest, okay, in such a project that earns a rate of return which is higher than 10%. Okay, so in this sense, this cost of capital is defined as the minimum rate of return which a firm must earn. Okay, so in worst case, at least that investment should earn 10% return so that the businessman can at least repay the principal amount and 10% interest, total 110 rupees to the bank. Okay, otherwise, okay, when you don't repay the bank loans taken, okay, so you should keep reading, okay, about Mehul Choksi, okay, then Vijay Mallya, okay, they took loan from banks and they did not returned. Okay, so you should understand. So this way, dear students, I told you, okay, all the concepts in that subject are interlinked with each other. So you can understand it as a whole. You cannot understand a part of the subject. Please remember, okay. So please put efforts to read the reading materials that I have given, and at the end of the day, please write the numericals in your fair notebook, okay, and also solve the practice problems that are given. Then the cost of capital is composed of several elements. The term component means different sources from which funds are raised, like equity or debt. Okay, so I'll show you the different sources. See, these can be the different sources of capital. See, please remember, capital is means the money required to invest in the business opportunities or business projects. So a company can raise capital through debt or issue of debentures. Company can raise capital by way of issue of preference shares. Company can raise capital by way of equity capital. Okay, company can raise capital by way of using the reserves and surpluses. Okay, or retained earnings, they are called as. A company can take loan from banks and other financial institutions. So there are different sources of finance or different sources of raising funds for the purpose of investments. Okay. So the term component means the different sources from which funds are raised, like equity, debt, and others, which I read it out just now. Each source of fund have their own cost. So that's why I gave a simple example of 10% interest loan on 10% interest. The 10% interest on loan is the cost of capital here. Okay. The cost of each source of fund is called specific cost of capital. Cost of debentures, cost of loan from bank, cost of equity capital, cost of preference capital, okay, cost of reserves and surpluses or retained earnings. Okay. When these specific costs are combined to arrive at overall cost of capital, it is referred to as weighted cost of capital. And in this chapter, we are going to learn how to compute, how to calculate weighted cost of capital. Okay. So any questions so far? I think otherwise I'll complete this and I'll go for your questions. It is the combined cost of capital is the combined cost of all specific costs. Okay, these are the specific costs. So cost of capital is the combined cost of all specific costs associated with each source of finance. It means first, okay, computation of cost of capital involves two steps. Step one, we are going to compute the specific costs of a different sources of finance. Like we are going to find out the cost of debt, cost of preference shares, cost of equity capital, and cost of retained earnings. And then, okay, calculation, we are going to combine all the specific costs to arrive at the overall cost of capital or weighted cost of capital. Okay, so two steps. I hope we can understand. Step one, computation of specific costs of different sources of finance. We are going to find out cost of debt, cost of preference capital, cost of equity capital, cost of retained earnings, and then we are going to combine them. We are going to combine them to determine the weighted cost of capital, or simply you can call it cost of capital. Okay, so any doubts till now? The next I'm going to start with how to calculate cost of debt. I'll explain, of course, what is the debt, what is the debenture. Yeah. Any questions so far? Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, see, I have given a 12-page reading material also, huh? Remember. Okay, please read them in order to understand. Okay, if you read and attend the classes, your learning will be far better. Okay, so whatever fees you have paid, okay, it will be worth. Okay, you will get more value for your fees paid or more value for your money. So first, specific cost, that is the cost of debt. What is this and how to calculate cost of debt? We are going to find out. Okay, so debentures. Okay, so the company, when they want to raise capital, they consider to raise capital from different sources. Okay, so like this, cost of debt from debt through debentures, through preference shares, through equity shares, through retained earnings. Okay, so for the purpose of raising capital or for the purpose of raising funds, company issues debentures. Okay, say for example, 100 rupee debenture. Okay, 100 rupee, 10% interest. So I can purchase, let us say, one debenture and I have to pay 100 rupees. Okay, it means I am lending, I am giving a loan of 100 rupees to the company. What will I get? Okay, on 100 rupees, I will get 10% interest every year. Okay, so 10 rupees every year, for example. So I'm giving one small simple example. This way, they make many debentures, thousands, lakhs of debentures, and then they sell them into the market. People purchase, the retail investors and institutional investors purchase. Remember, LIC, State Bank of India, these insurance companies, the banks, what they do with the money deposited, what insurance companies do with the money premium they collect, they don't keep it in a locker. Locker will be, you cannot find a big locker enough to save these deposits in banks or premiums. Okay, a part of that they invest in stock market. Okay, they may also purchase debentures of a company. Okay, so there are retail investors and institutional investors who purchases the debentures and they earn that interest rates. Okay, they earn that interest on those debentures. So it can be also a loan taken from bank or financial institution. So both are considered here. Okay, so but now we'll go ahead with the calculating cost of debentures. To calculate the explicit cost of debt, the following data are required. First is net cash proceeds or net cash inflows and net cash outflows. Let us learn what is the net cash inflows in case of a debenture. Debentures are issued to the interested investors in the market and who subscribe to them or purchase them. Remember. So the issue price of debenture, say 100 rupee debenture I told in my example. The issue price of debenture or loan amount, it is also called a loan amount, 100 rupees minus flotation costs. Okay, when lakhs or crores of debentures are issued in the market, okay, sold in the market, they involve certain flotation costs. Okay, and these costs have to be deducted from the face value of the debentures to arrive at the net cash inflow. Say for example, there is a 2 rupee flotation cost, okay, involved in issuing a debenture, 100 minus 2. So the net cash inflow for the company will be 98 rupees and not 100 rupees. Remember, from the specific source of debt. And then net cash outflows are in terms of the amount of a periodic interest payment and a repayment of principal in installments or in lump sum on maturity. So the interest paid and part of the principal repaid are the net cash outflows. The debt can, okay, so these are the net cash inflows and net cash outflows, what we need to compute the cost of debt. Okay, remaining part I'll continue in the next session. Once this meeting closes, kindly join, okay, quickly. Please do not waste time.